I feel like I do that every single time. Hey guys, I am here today to talk about 5 more books that I have read, and I read all of these in the month of June. So the first one that I have is Moonstone, The Boy Who Never Was by Sean, and this is translated by Victoria Cribb. This was so interesting. So this is the second book by Sean that I have read. I've read previously The Blue Fox, and I feel like vibe-wise, both of these have very similar vibes. Like you can tell that they're by the same author, kind of like when you read a Haruki Murakami book, you can kind of like sense and tell. So this has the same kind of like the atmosphere is like very crisp. It feels like very mystical and fairy tale-y kind of, even though this is not really a fairy tale type book, but something about the way that Sean writes kind of like evokes that, and I think it's really, really lovely. The plot of this book is that we're following our main character, whose name I can't remember, Manny. So it's set in 1918 Reykjavik in Iceland after a large volcano has erupted, and also this has to do with the Spanish flu epidemic. So like it kind of starts with, oh, the volcano just erupted, and then like a majority of the book has to do with the Spanish flu and how that kind of like affected the population of Iceland. But really, it's kind of about this boy. It's so it's so well done, because I feel like, there's our main character who is some kind of I can't some kind of queer. I can't really tell, because he does have like male sexual relations during the book, but I kind of have a sense that he is in love with or has strong feelings for a woman that's in the book. So like explicit sexuality is not described in the book, but there is like a clear connection that he has with a woman, but a lot of the book has to do with him having these sexual encounters with these men, but also the Spanish flu epidemic, and then also his relationship with movies and movie theaters. There's I think I read online somewhere about how Sean's like purpose, or when he was thinking about this book, he was kind of like taking these different things and putting them together, and like he found like this character that was gay, and I guess the theater was like really looked down upon, like movie theaters and movies, and so kind of like taking him and having all of these like counterculture is not the right word, but things that are happening in Icelandic society at this particular time, and kind of having them all kind of revolve around this one central character. I thought it was spectacular. I mean, I would at this point I would read anything that Sean writes. I think it was really well done, and I really appreciated it. I'm pretty sure I cried. I do want to say that there is like explicit, like it's not just like, oh, he went and did this act. It's like, this is what happened. So if you don't like reading about sexual things in books, that's in here, just to warn you. And yes, so I would definitely recommend that book. The next thing that I read is The Best American Comics from 2013. I feel like a lot of people kind of like talk smack about these books, and I really don't know why. I think people that are really involved in the comics scene are much more particular. Kind of like if you're a really big, like, Marvel fan or something, like you might get mad about certain things in all these movies, but I'm like distant enough that I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I think it's really fun because you get to learn about new comic authors. I will say that there is an excerpt from Are You My Mother? Are You My Mother by Alison Bechdel, and I kind of skipped over that because I know that I want to read that, so I didn't feel the need to read an excerpt of it. And there's also an excerpt from My Friend Dahmer by Derf Backderf, and I did not really care for that. Now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like I should get rid of it. Anyways, I didn't really care for that, so I skipped that too, but I read the rest of them, and there's a lot of stuff in here that I really enjoyed. I just wanted to show a little bit of what I liked. I thought this one was really beautiful. Who is this by? Jesse Jacobs, The Divine Manifestation of a Singular Impulse. And I just think the art and the story is beautiful. And then the next one that I really liked was Sam Alden, and this is Turned Back, an excerpt from Haunter. So this is something that I'm interested in getting, but I basically just think this art is unreal. I think it's so beautiful. The colors are gorgeous. So I really like that. And then another one that I really, really liked was Anita Goes Home by Eleanor Davis. And again, it has to do with that art. You know, it's just so beautiful and moving. And the story is, you know, about a woman going back to her dad who is sick, and kind of like about how like her home planet or her home country or territory has a lot of like air pollution, so no one can like breathe outside. They have to wear these like things that cover them. So yeah, anyways, I think these are a joy to read because you do get to learn about a lot of different people that you might not have otherwise heard of. The next thing that I have is The Lost Daughter by Elena Ferrante, and this is translated by Anne Goldstein. I don't know why I looked that up. Yeah, so this is, I read My Brilliant Friend series. I read the Neapolitan novels, and then I read The Days of Abandonment. No, I read Troubling Love. Days of Abandonment is the only one that I have left. And so then I just read this, and I feel like writing style-wise, I think this is more similar to the Neapolitan novels than Troubling Love is. And it was heartbreaking. I don't remember what stars I gave these things, which is kind of embarrassing. But anyways, so in this story, we're following a woman who has 2 daughters who are grown, and her husband has kind of like left. I feel like I don't remember exactly how their relationship ended, but I think it had a lot to do with the main character, with the woman kind of like, and her unhappiness with kind of motherhood and being a wife and all that kind of stuff. So he has left and moved to Canada, and her 2 daughters are now grown, and they have also gone. So she's kind of all by herself, and she goes on a beach trip where she's kind of like gazing at / like watching attentively this Neapolitan family that she is like just for some reason really like drawn to. So it's, you know, it's just a big family, but the main people that she's kind of obsessed with are this young mother and her little daughter, and the little daughter has a little doll, and they kind of like treat the doll as another daughter, you know, either for the mother or the daughter, can't really tell at all times, but so it's really, it hits on a lot of themes of being unhappy in life with, you know, having children. And like, I feel like I really like this book because I feel like there's so much, and I feel like I felt this way with a short story collection that I can't remember what it's called at the moment, but basically this like assumption that, you know, once you have kids, like that's like you're going to be super happy and you're going to be super excited and like that's all you're going to care about. But like that's not the case for every woman. And I just really appreciate when books kind of show like that it's a little bit more complex, other than just like, I'm going to have a baby, I'm going to love this baby no matter what. Like you can love your child but still feel like you've lost part of yourself. I mean, it is I think kind of a grieving process because you're losing this former self and now you're gaining a new self. So there is kind of like that period of mournfulness of like what your life could have been like if you hadn't had kids and all of this stuff. And I just think it's really interesting to delve into those topics that I feel like are a little taboo just because no one wants to seem like you're a bad person or you're a bad mom or you're a bad wife or whatever. So I really appreciate Elena Ferrante because I feel like she talks a lot about these kinds of things in the Neapolitan novels and in this book specifically too. And this is a lot less pages. So if you haven't read the Neapolitan novels and are intimidated by the fact that it's like, I think total like over 1,600 pages between the 4 books, this is less than 200. So similar type themes, and I feel like this would give you a good taste of her if you're not ready to like go into that series. I thought this was heartbreaking and beautiful and all kinds of stuff, and it also made me really like nostalgic and happy because I grew up every summer. I would go to Italy to stay with my aunt. My aunt was my babysitter over the summer, and I think from the age of maybe like 16 or 17 forward, my cousin and I would go to the beach. And in Italy, the beaches are very specific, where like it's not just a free beach like how it is here in the US. You have to like, you know, purchase like rent out your little like chair that you sit in on the beach. And there's like the bar and the volleyball. So she did a really good job of kind of like evoking those same feelings inside of myself of like nostalgia for this time period that I used to have that I don't think I'm ever gonna get back at this point. So it made me like really happy in that. It made me really happy in that sense, especially because she's talking about how they have like a forest before the beach, which is how it was at the beach that I would go to, where there's like, the city and then like a little strip of pines, of you know, like a little bit of a forest, and then the beach, and then of course the ocean. So yeah, it made me feel cozy in that sense, but also it made me feel all kinds of other things. Also, it's just so good. Her writing is very plain and basic though, so if you're like, I need beautiful poetic language, like this is very simplistic writing, and I prefer that a lot of the time, to be honest. I don't like it when people like have MFAs and try really hard to create like the most perfect, beautiful sentence. Like just tell me what's happening. The next thing that I have is Madame du Deffand and the Idiots by Javier Marias, and this is translated by Margaret Jewel Costa. And this is 5 little essays on different authors. So the first one is this person that I've never heard of before. And then there's Nabokov, Juna Barnes, Oscar Wilde, and Emily Bronte are the 5 little essays. And I thought that was really fun and lovely. I don't know enough about each author for this to have been like super meaningful, but it does make me curious to learn more about all of them in general, and more curious to know about this author of this collection. I don't know if, yeah, so the essays are taken from Written Lives, so, I assume that it's has even more little essays on different authors and this, and, stuff. Just stop with that. All right, and then the last book that I have to talk about today is Stephen Florida by Gabe Habash. I was kind of on the fence about this just because, which is so dumb because I don't really care about plot ever, but the main character is a wrestler and it has to do with his like wrestling career, and I just like could care less about sports to begin with and extra less about something like wrestling. I just don't appreciate the fact that these boys have to like stay in such a very specific weight range, and I feel like they do things that are unhealthy, which our main character definitely does in this book, and so that kind of stresses me out because it stresses me out. So I was not 100% willing to read this book because of that, but again, I just that was a stupid reason. Like there's so much more to a book than like what the actual like A to B is. So I'm really glad that I ended up reading this. This was so, God, sad. Like the main character is a sad, sad, sad boy. He is in college. I think he is a senior in college, and so this is like his last opportunity to, win this title, or like to win the like championship of the wrestling in his like specific weight range bracket. I don't know. There's different weights for wrestlers, and so you can only like wrestle with someone that is the same weight as you. So this is his last opportunity to do that because he is going to be graduating, and there's just so much sadness in him. It like really breaks my heart. His parents died when he was young, I think, and so then he was like living with his grandma or something, and this is like his one shot and one opportunity that he has, and it's just, I don't know, it was really heartbreaking, and seeing like how like hyper focused he is on this one end goal, and how like he kind of, I don't want to say ruins the relationships around him, but he's a typical young guy that, is very emotional but doesn't want to admit that. So he has a really good friend, but then other things happen, and he, it's really hard. So he has a lot of like interpersonal relationship problems because of his like unwillingness, in my opinion, his unwillingness to kind of like admit weakness. Like he doesn't want to speak to people about certain things. And yeah, in general, I just thought it was, I thought it was worth the read. I'm really glad that I read this, and I will be keeping it. So that means that I did quite like it. Yeah, I'm not mad about it. But again, I really don't know what this means. This book cover. Maybe I'll have to like internet search, because I don't get it. So anyways, those are the things that I have read. I will link things below. If you've read any of these or have any questions, please let me know. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye bye.